Welcome, everyone, to Hardcore Wrestling Radio's Hell in a Cell reaction. We just got through watching the pay per view, and you know what? Everybody here on the pretty much called it right down the line. I can't say it was one of the better Hell in a Cell matches, but you know what? HWR, we're going to tell you how it is, whether you like it or not. So, first, let me introduce the crew. He's my sidekick. He's my partner. He is the son of a bitch, Andy. Andy, how we doing?
I'm doing fine. I hope everybody else is too.
And then over at Lance Moss TV, he is the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's up?
Oh, not much. I mean, pay-per-view is I.
Yeah, it was very definitely lukewarm. We're gonna start off with the kickoff match. Now, we already saw this match, if I'm not mistaken, earlier in the week.
And then again earlier last week.
Yeah. So first it was during the week on the main shows. Excuse me if I can get it out. Sheamus, Rusev, and King Barrett won, and then in this match, Neville got the win with the red arrow after Cesaro hit the 15 time swing. It's like the king of swing, and I believe we are getting a hold of Joe. Hold on one second. Oh, yep. And the classic wrestling manager Joseph Knight will be joining us in just a few minutes. Andy, what did you think of the kickoff match?
Didn't see it, unfortunately, because as I said on the show before we did the show, thanks to the WWE, they even advertised it. Don't forget, 1 o'clock a.m. UK time, the pay-per-view. It started at fucking 12.
Really? Wow. And now does that happen a lot over there? Is this
It's
a common?
because the hour's gone back, and obviously they haven't thought about it.
And the
So
thing.
really, it's 1 o'clock, but it was 12 o'clock because we put the hour back.
I see.
And they haven't accounted for that. But it's not just like England, it's the whole of Europe. So I don't know how many countries are actually in Europe. Let's say there's a dozen countries tuned in an hour late.
Yeah.
But even on the normal channels that you would watch the WWE on, like your Sky Sports, irrespective of where you are in the country, it was still being advertised. Don't forget the pay-per-view on this channel, pay-per-view, or you can go on the network, starts at 1 a.m. So I just get sat there watching TV thinking, got another hour go yet. It's already been on. It's the first hour.
Yeah, and that's a shame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for you to see what match you did have, and I'll have you jump in.
The first match I remember was when Seth Rollins. I switched on when Seth Rollins was talking to Triple H and Stephanie.
Okay, so I think you missed the first two matches.
Yeah,
up until then, I hadn't seen anything. I'll watch them on catch up again, but I hadn't seen them then up to that point.
All right. Now, Lance, what was your thoughts about this opening match?
Granted, these two teams seemed a little thrown together. I think the Toxic Wasteland's or Cosmic Wasteland's gonna start shit with somebody because where else the hell's Ray out in the crowd. But yeah, I mean, for these six guys, they did a really good job, but it was still what I think of when I think of a pre-show match. Really wasn't a hell of a lot of story behind it, but it was good.
Yeah, and you made an interesting point about how there wasn't a lot of story to it because there's been a couple of things going on. Like you said, there's the Stardust and Ascension, as they call themselves, the Cosmic Wasteland, and they've been kind of just hitting out in the area, and they're saying the Stardust section, which implies that they're going to start something with Cesaro.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something else that happened on Friday night, they brought up what's his name? I can't even call Tyler Breeze. Thank you. He calls himself the Prince of Pretty. I call him the Prince of Pity because he's awful pitiful. And he started a feud with Dolph Ziggler before the pay-per-view. And if anything, why didn't they do this after the pay-per-view? It made no sense. Andy, I don't know if you caught SmackDown or not.
No, sorry, I muted my microphone, but no, I didn't see SmackDown this week, unfortunately.
Okay, well, yeah, like I said, there was just a couple of storylines that they started before the pay-per-view, and I don't understand why they do that. They should wait until after the pay-per-view for those, to start new storylines. So, on a side note, guys, I've been watching Breaking Ground documentary, and so far it's okay, but it's nothing over the top either. So we're gonna move on to the next match, and it was John Cena. He was going for the United States title. He has an open challenge, and everybody's like, "Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?" And lo and behold, who makes his return? But Alberto Del Rio, and that was a major shock for. I couldn't believe that he made the return. So, Andy, what was your thoughts about Alberto Del Rio coming back into the WWE?
I was quite surprised when you guys told me when I came online that he'd come back. I was really surprised because last I saw he was on that Lucha Underground as their champion. So I'd come as a complete shock.
Yeah, and we are going to bring in the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. And, you know, Joe, welcome to the show. I know we started a little bit before you, but I'm going to ask you real quick, Joe. The kickoff match, what was your thoughts on that?
Pretty decent match. It's not like we haven't seen that before. It was kind of obvious that the baby faces were going to go over because it was on Raw that the heels won. So not predictable, Rick.
Yeah, and I think it was also a thrown together match because, as we said before on the other show, that it was supposed to be Dean Ambrose and Randy Orton versus the Wyatts. And for some reason, I guess Randy Orton got himself a shoulder injury. So they had to scrap it, so it was definitely a last-minute match. Joe, we are now talking about John Cena and the return of Alberto Del Rio. What was your thoughts?
One, I was shocked that they introduced him in a pay-per-view, but what a better setting to introduce somebody returning. And to give him the title, I think we all here agree that John Cena was going to lose the belt anyway. So it was going to be given to whoever he faced. And you know what? It's good to see at least they gave it to Del Rio.
Well, you know, and this is something that you and I argued about a little bit, is that you thought that, Del Rio should get it. And I don't think he's earned his stripes. He left on bad terms. He comes back, and the first time he comes back, he gets a title when there were other wrestlers who truly deserved it. Somebody like Dean Ambrose should have gotten that shot. It's just other wrestlers who haven't left, who've been really pushing that time. Why do you think WWE does something like that?
Quite easily. Alberto Del Rio was making a name for himself. You saw it all over. He was in Lucha Underground. He was getting some TV time. He was getting TV time in AAA. And plus, here you got to remember the main thing here, Rick. WWE is looking to go to Mexico. What better way to have a representative for your company than being Alberto Del Rio from Mexico? So it's kind of that flavor. I don't see him holding the belt for a long time. I kind of see him as a transitional champion, most likely probably dropping it to Dean Ambrose. But here's the thing. WWE is already scheduled to go to Mexico. What better way to have an ambassador than Alberto Del Rio?
Very fair point. Lance, your thoughts? What was what was your reaction when you saw Alberto Del Rio?
Well, I'm gonna tell you that, but I'm also gonna tell you what I thought when Zeb Coulter came out. I was like, oh God, not Jack Swagger. But yeah, I was like, cool. I thought he was still signed like Andy did with Lucha Underground, but I guess that fell through. But it was a well worked match. But I was kind of hoping that it could have been like somebody like, say, a Dean Ambrose. Hell, I was actually kind of hoping to see the Cowboy James Storm, but that was just kind of wishful thinking since I don't even think he's under contract right now. But yeah, good match.
Yeah, and like you said, we saw the return of Zeb Coulter, which we haven't seen him in a while, and he comes out on like one of those little Walmart carts, and or they call the Rascal,
Yeah.
and I was just
I always knew Zeb was a little rascal.
yeah, I actually thought it was kind of comical, so obviously they're adding that to his gimmick. Actually, Joe, let me ask you: do you think that was a kayfabe, or do you think he's actually using? You think he is getting to that point now?
Well, I kind of think that if they have anything with that product, like if they're sponsored to show off that product, they probably just had him come on it. I haven't heard anything that Yosemite Sam has leg trouble or back trouble. So I think it was just a kayfabe thing that they just wanted to show off. Just like every time they get sponsored for a soft drink, you see it everywhere. Um, I think maybe their sponsor was the Rascal, the company that made the Rascal, because I didn't see any drinks anywhere.
It looked like the People Power scooter.
Yeah. Fair point. Well, let's
Could
move.
could have been that they're saying, hey, Zeb is old, so he has to use this. He'll be the first wrestling manager of all time to have to come down in a little scooter. If you want to get revenge on him, just tip him over, and that'll be it.
Yeah, and as we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here, we're going to go on to the next match, and that is the Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt. And that was a Hell in a Cell match. Now, I know right now we have a picture of a kickoff match, but unfortunately that's a technical issue, so forgive me for that one. Now, guys, this was a match that I felt that Roman needed to win. And for the Hell in a Cell match, it was a pretty decent match. Thankfully we didn't see any of the Wyatts get involved. It was pretty much, and we saw Roman get the clean win. After the match, he talked with Dean Ambrose, and he talked about saying, hey, you know what's coming next, referring to the WWE title. Andy, I'm going to go over to you. What did you think about the first Hell in a Cell match?
Probably one of the best matches on the card for me, personally.
All right. Do you see Roman Reigns getting a title shot anytime soon?
Well, if he doesn't, I can start boycotting the WWE because I think the guy's put everything he can and more, and he just doesn't seem to be recognised still.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Joe, your thoughts about the first Hell in a Cell match and whether what his next step is for Roman Reigns?
Well, it was a pretty decent match. It was everything you expect out of these two. They're both hard workers. We all agreed this was a match that Roman Reigns needed to win, and he did. He now I see him. I expect him to go on to the world title next because that's the next step right here. Unless they give him a secondary title, which will be either the U.S. or Intercontinental, but he needed this win and to close the chapter on the Wyatts. As far as Bray Wyatt, we pretty much this was a match that he didn't need to win. He was good enough as it is. So win or lose, it didn't serve any purpose because he still kept his standings. And I'm glad they used him. I'm not going to say anything till later, but I'm glad they used him later on in the show.
Yeah. We're gonna move. Lance, your thoughts.
Well, like I said in the prediction, this was one of the matches of the night, definitely. Now, I kind of took what Dean Ambrose said to Roman a little differently than what y'all did. I think they're kind of heading up for a little bit of a Survivor Series action.
Okay, and that's actually another thought too as well, because Survivor Series is coming up, and of course there's going to be traditional Survivor Series matches, so you're going to wonder who is going to be in there, but that's another conversation for another night. Let's move on to the Divas match. We saw Charlotte versus Nikki Bella, and a lot of people thought that Nikki was going to reclaim the title, and this was another match that I predicted that Charlotte was going to win, because it was her first title defense. It made sense for her to win. Andy, over to you.
Terrible match. That's all I can say. It was a complete terrible match, and it was a copy of the last match that they had. If you put the two matches on side by side, probably even ran for the same length of time.
Yeah. Joe, over to you. I know you first thought that Nikki was going to win, so your thoughts on the fact that Charlotte won.
Well, originally my pick was Charlotte, but throughout the match, kind of was leaning towards Nikki Bella, and I'm glad it turned out to be Charlotte. I have to agree with Andy. This wasn't spectacular. It wasn't like the beginning of the Diva Revolution that we were seeing. It's kind of we've seen this match repeated so many times. This was becoming, instead of a Diva Revolution that you were excited, it was another piss break match. So again, I agree with Andy. If you put these matches side by side, it was no different. Couple bumps were different, but again, same outcome, same type of match. And I hope that we don't see I hope we don't see Nikki or Brie for at least to the end of the year.
Yeah, which, by the way, is not too long. And I do want to make a note. There was really that bad counter. It looked like they were trying to do something off the top rope, and it just was a bad, bad bump. But overall, like I said, I really had no complaints with this match. There's nothing special, but nothing bad either. That's what I wrote over on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com in the groups under HWR Show. Anyways, moving on. We move on to the tag team match, which was the Dudleys between the New Day. Now, Xavier Woods was supposedly in the hospital, but I think that was more of a kayfabe situation.
Well, I've seen pictures with him with his ribs taped up and doing the horn thing.
Okay. Anyways, he posted a tweet saying that it was, the Dudleys the reason why he's here because he got put through a table. I thought this was an okay match for what it was. I'm glad that the Dudleys did not win the title because I'm sorry. I feel that any and all legends should be pushing down the newer talent and pushing up the newer talent. They shouldn't be stepping in the spotlight. They've had their shot, and it worked out well. It was even a semi-clean win. Kofi hits Bubba with the Trouble in Paradise, gets the win. There was a little bit of controversy at the beginning as they tried to cheat with the trombone. They threw this trombone to Bubba, and then Kofi hits the ground. Ref didn't buy that. It was a few minutes later they did get the legitimate win. Joe, over to you. Your thoughts?
You know what? It was a really good match. It's good to see that the Dudleys are putting over the New Day. I feel that they probably are gonna. I could see the Dudleys winning the belts by, I don't know, maybe Royal Rumble or the pay-per-view after Survival Series. There was a lot of comedy spots, especially with the New Day doing their little tweak or jerk, whatever you want to call it, and the Dudleys copying it. The Eddie Guerrero cheating move where he throws them the trombone and lies down, plays it off. There was a lot of interesting spots in this match, and I have to say, at first I really detested the New Day, but it's good to see that Big E is finally breaking out, starting to move on. Coffee doing great. He's the glue, and Xavier's the comedy guy. It's funny to see Buckwheat in pictures doing the unicorn from some bed maybe. But again, good match. Good to see the Dudleys putting over these guys. And I bet you this: the next time those guys meet, it will be a title change.
Yeah. Lance, over to you.
Well, like Joe said, decent match, nice spots, but I do have one question. What do the New Day wear underneath their boots?
Good question. Okay.
New Day socks. New
Oh, I walked
Day
right
socks.
into that one. Andy, over to you.
Yeah, and that's about the best thing you could say about the whole match. New Day sucks. They
Wow.
ended up winning a match that they didn't deserve, in my eyes, to win.
Well, as I said before, you need to, push up the younger talent by new guys winning, the legends winning over the new guys. What's that say about today's roster? You have to give them that shot. You have to give them the rub. And honestly, I have to agree with Joe. The New Day, when they first came out, I'm like, these guys are going to suck. But they have slowly been gaining my respect. And by beating the Dudley Boyz was the right thing to do. Let's move on. Now, this is something that really upset me, and I thought that it had no place. We had Kane versus Seth Rollins, and this for the world title, WWE title. Now, what really pissed me off is the fact that this should have been the main event. It should not have been a mid-card match. I think even one of our listeners over on our show said it was CM Punk 2.0, season, and I have to agree. The match itself was pretty decent for what it was. Nobody expected Kane to win. Of course, he didn't. Seth Rollins got a win with a very bad pedigree. Joe, your thoughts?
Exactly what you said. This match wasn't great. I mean, what can you do with Kane? And at first, I was questioning why should the WWE title, world title, be defended in the middle of the card? But then you look at it, it's Kane. Really nothing spectacular there. So you have to put him in the middle. I've just found it funny that they put the Intercontinental title afterwards. So it kind of diminishes the world title, in my opinion. Seth Rollins, good worker, bad challenger.
Yeah. Lance, over to you.
Well, it was okay match. Then again, they need to get the guy. They said that Seth Rollins put Kane through a table. No, he bounced him off a table. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the title shouldn't be mid card. Even since in a thing where a pay per view that has a gimmick as the name, at least make the world title semi main event.
Yeah, I think the fact that Ryback and Kevin Owens, which we're going to talk in a minute, got the over the WWE title, it really diminishes it.
Yeah.
Andy, let me ask you. With Kane now supposedly, Cobra Kane no longer having a position in the WWE, what do you think this means for? Do you think they're going to start showing a lot more of the just the Demon Kane?
I think they're going to start pushing him away now. I think he's probably been and spoke to him in the back and said he wants wrap it up. But I just don't think it's a good way that they can wrap it up for him. I think they could have done a better way of slowing his career down instead of making it look like he's lost his job. And because I just don't see any need for have Kane in the WWE anymore because he's got no rivals, he's got nobody he's feuding with. So I don't see where he's going to go with it, to be honest.
You make a valid point, but I'm going to bring that up after we cover this match. We saw Kevin Owens versus Ryback, and I'm sorry. I wasn't. There was nothing really impressive on this match, and it's really at no fault to Kevin Owens. He did what he could with the match, but then you get somebody like Ryback, and it's like it was a shit break of a match. Andy, would you agree?
Yeah, fully, completely.
Yeah. It's a shame, Joe, because you have somebody like Kevin Owens who's a great worker. Why put him with somebody like Ryback?
Rick, it's because they don't have other people to put in with this guy. They want to build up everybody else, and they're taking their time with it. At this stage right now, to be honest, they needed to get Ryback in that losing streak and out of the way. Here's a guy that's no talent. I mean, I don't care what people say. That feed me s'mores, that tights, the way he can't even talk. He this guy should be. He would be better football player than a professional wrestler, because he does nothing. He does nothing for me. He does nothing for the fans. Nobody really cares for him when he comes out. I think it's just their way of giving him his swan song to put him into job status and getting literally Kevin Owens ready for better challengers, like maybe Dean Ambrose.
Yeah. Now, Lance, over the past 24 hours, I guess he's been working on a backflip. He's been practicing at home. Don't you think that he should be working on his mic skills as opposed to his wrestling skills?
Yeah, because when big men try to fly and do acrobatics in the air, just ask Brock Lesnar how that went with him and Kurt Angle.
Very valid point. And you know what? While we're doing that, why don't we get on to the main event match, which, again, I had a bit of an issue with. And this is Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar in the second Hell in the Cell match of the night. I'm going to be honest with you. The match, for what it was, I can't say it was great, but I can't say it was bad. It was kind of like, both men did, pretty much wound up cutting each other up. The first time when Brock did it, you didn't see it. It was actually a pretty good spot, although when he hit the post, he hits his hand, but his head never hits the post. 2 seconds later, he's like bleeding like a pig.
Yeah.
Then, when we saw Undertaker bleed, you actually saw him blade himself.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that really upset me the most about this match is during the match, this is supposed to be no holds barred. It's Hell in a Cell. Nothing stops, and twice it gets stopped, so the doctors can come in. Joe, do you even feel that's a right thing to do?
Well, I think in the situation here is that Brock probably never bladed, because I don't remember him ever bleeding on his own. And I think, well, obviously, but in an MMA fight, but in here you could tell he cut himself deep, and I think they had to go by standards. If they're going to bleed, you got to have a doctor available. Remember, there is a state athletic commission that's still active, in most states, and I guess, and I'm believing Los Angeles is one state that has the state athletic commission. If you're gonna bleed, you gotta have a physician close by to check that it doesn't get bad. And I think at some time during the match, before, I think they rubbed some sort of petroleum jelly on it or Vaseline on it to slow it down. Brock was pretty bleeding, pretty much really strong on the top of his head. So, and he didn't cut himself vertically. He cut himself horizontally, which is the wrong thing to do. And that's what started him bleeding a lot more. So the doctor being in there, you know, I think was more of a precaution than anything else.
Okay. Andy, after the match, the Undertaker it was taking him a while to get up, and you could tell that was not really kayfabe. He was truly just fighting to get up, and it's you and I've talked about this more than once about the Undertaker and how he should really wrap it up. What's your thoughts on that?
Been saying this now for the last 4 or 5 WrestleManias. He's just not. He's spoiling everything that he's ever stood for in the WWE. It's just like watching your grandparents have a fight in the street.
Yeah,
It's a joke.
I agree. Now after the match, as I said, Taker's trying to get up, and who comes out but the Wyatts? Now it's 4-on-1, just beating the hell out of Taker. Taker couldn't even get a swing in, and he gets carried out by the Wyatts. Now, next month is Survivor Series, and that's where the Undertaker debuted. So, we saw a video about a week and a half ago where the Undertaker and Kane were working down in Mexico against who? The Wyatts. So, Lance, let me ask you: do you think they are building up for a Brothers of Destruction versus the Wyatts?
Yes, and I'm actually excited for the promos on that.
Okay.
Because while Taker can't go like in the ring for long periods of time, he can still cut one hell of a promo. And Bray Wyatt is out of his damn mind, so I'm actually kind of excited about this.
And you made a very interesting point that despite he can't wrestle, Undertaker can shoot some great promos, and his entrances are great, and that's probably why a lot of fans don't want to see him move on. Andy, Brothers of Destruction versus the Wyatts at the next match. Do you see this as Undertaker being his last match, or do you see him going all the way to WrestleMania?
I see the Undertaker. Well, I don't see a Brothers of Destruction at all. I see the Undertaker is going to be their new so-called boss, their trainer, so to speak, who's going to train the guys to carry on his legacy, for the want of a better term. Not carry on as Undertakers, to make them that these are now. Look at these guys as the new Undertaker-style characters, the new underground, modern-day Undertaker.
So you see him passing the torch.
He's going to be like the father figure towards them. He's going to be like their guru. I don't know what the word is, but I'd say
so
guru.
kind of a new Ministry of Darkness.
Yeah, he's going to be their new father figure.
Okay. Now, Joe, Andy made up a very interesting point. I thought it was going to be, the Brothers of Destruction versus the Wyatts, but Andy spun it in a different direction. That the Undertaker could be, his mind could be twisted and he could join the Wyatts. Which direction do you see this going?
Well, I have two possible scenarios that can work out from this. I agree with Andy in his one step that the scenario of him saying, he's their, they worship him because he's their icon, but they see him as a broken old man now, and they need to toughen him up again, so he can come back as their leader. I don't really see that, but that's a good scenario to do. The second scenario is that they do the traditional match, the Survival Series match, and they bring in Kane. They get one more person, and they bring Sting into the mix. Reason I say they bring in Sting during the match, Sting accidentally hits the Undertaker, or it turns on the Undertaker, setting up their match for WrestleMania. If you want to find a way to get Sting versus Undertaker, if that's still even valid, you just found it in a Survival Series type match where he'll be part of their team. I kind of lean more towards that than the family thing where they Wyatt worship Undertaker, or they look to him as their fallen god, than anything else. But I do gotta agree with Andy on this. The Wyatts, especially Bray Wyatt, is looking to become the new face of fear. If you look at the back of his jacket, he even says it, the new face of fear. And I think Bray Wyatt is the modern day Undertaker, being with he's that creepy cultist guy in the woods with a cabin, kidnapping people. So I'm that's how I'm looking at the scenarios. There's two scenarios, and the way Andy just said it, and the second one where Sting gets involved. Yeah, think about it.
As I hit the mute button there, I do have to kind of agree with you, but I got to disagree with you to a point because I don't see Bray Wyatt as the next Undertaker. He always kind of reminds me of a Charlie Manson type character. Undertaker was this, type of phenom that couldn't be destroyed. Well, in his earlier years, in his heyday, and Bray Wyatt needs people around him to make him more powerful. So that's why I consider those two totally. Is he a new face of fear? Yes, but on a totally different level. But you know what, guys? We want to know your thoughts. We want to know your opinions. What'd you think of Hell in a Cell? What was a great match? What was a shitty match of the night? Make sure you put your comments in the comments section below. Make sure you follow us over in our chat room over at facebook.com/groups/HWR chat room, and also take a few seconds, hit that subscribe button, and support us over at youtube.com/HWR show. We have my sidekick. He's my partner. He's the son of a bitch, Andy. Andy, what do you got going on? Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, if you follow me, you'll know I do paranormal investigations. So I will be doing one this coming Halloween, and it's at the same investigation venue, if you can remember, that I had a one-on-one round a seance table with a spook. So that video could be worth watching if he comes back and gives me grief. So you can catch that on www.stokehaunted.com.
Make sure you guys get over there and check it out, and I'm sure Andy will post it over in our chat room. We have the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, where can everybody find you?
Well, they can find me on Facebook.com at Joseph Knight Manager. They can also follow me on Twitter at JKnightCWA. Pretty much just posted up a lot of the current news and any topics that come up. I do want to say this, that Booker T is now training ex-NFL football player. I think his name is Bernie Williams. So keep an eye on that. You never know where that could be, where that can lead to.
Yeah.
And Rick, there's the link for you down there and for the fans.
All right. And also, last but not least, if I can talk tonight, we have the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, you're over at youtube.com/Lance Moss TV. What do you got going on?
I got album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck gourmet cooking videos, musical equipment reviews, some rants, and every Wednesday I go live at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, whatever the hell it is, in the West Coast, and an hour earlier than it is for this 1 week in England and in Europe because, well, WWE fucked up.
All right, guys. So thank you for listening. And, always check us out and follow us at the HWR Show. We're on all sorts of social media, whether it be Twitter, Pinterest. We are now just got an Instagram page. And of course, as I said before, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. So for Hardcore Crew, I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.